Every day, we are surrounded by messages from the world. Ideas about who we are, what matters most, and where our value comes from. These messages are everywhere, in advertisements, social media, entertainment, and even in the conversations we have with others. But what if some of the most common messages we hear aren't true at all? In fact, some of the loudest truths the world repeats are, at their core, lies. Lies that can shape our beliefs, our choices, and even our sense of self-worth. Let's take a closer look at 3 powerful lies the world tells us and discover what God says instead. The first lie: your worth is defined by your achievements. From an early age, we're taught to chase success, good grades, promotions, awards, and admiration. The world measures our value by what we accomplish, the wealth we accumulate, and the status we hold. If you achieve enough, you're told, you'll finally be enough. But this message can leave us feeling anxious, always comparing, never satisfied, and terrified of failure. The truth is, no amount of achievement can fill the longing to be truly valued. But God says something profoundly different. In Psalm 139, we are reminded that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our worth is not based on our performance, but on the fact that we are God's creation, loved and cherished before we ever did a single thing. Ephesians 2:10 calls us God's masterpiece, created with purpose and value that can never be earned or lost. In God's eyes, you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. The second lie: you have to be perfect to be loved. The world often tells us that love is conditional, based on how we look, how we behave, or how well we hide our flaws. Social media filters and carefully curated profiles reinforce the idea that we must present a perfect image to be accepted. The fear of rejection leads us to mask our struggles, pretending we have it all together. But deep down, we know we're not perfect, and the pressure can bite. The distinction between Jesus and religion is a topic that has sparked countless conversations, shaped lives, and influenced the course of history. To understand the difference, it's important to first consider what each represents. On one hand, you have Jesus, a figure at the heart of Christianity, whose life and teachings have inspired billions. On the other, you have religion, a set of structured beliefs, rituals, and traditions that have developed over centuries, often as a way to organize faith and create community. Though they intersect, the contrast between the two is both profound and thought-provoking. Jesus, according to the Christian scriptures, was a radical figure. He challenged the norms of his time, reaching out to the marginalized, the poor, and the outcasts. His message was simple yet revolutionary. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. He emphasized compassion, forgiveness, and humility. For Jesus, faith was not about following an endless list of rules, but about a relationship, a personal connection with God. He spoke of a faith that transforms the heart, not just outward behavior. Religion, in contrast, often refers to the formal systems that have grown around the teachings of figures like Jesus. These systems include rituals, doctrines, and institutions. Religion provides a framework for belief, a sense of belonging, and guidance through life's challenges. It offers traditions that connect generations and communities. But over time, religion can become focused on the external, on rituals, rules, and appearances, sometimes at the expense of the deeper internal transformation that Jesus spoke about. One of the most striking examples of this tension is seen in the Gospels. Jesus often clashed with the religious leaders of his day, the Pharisees and Sadducees. They were devoted to strict observance of the law, but Jesus accused them of missing the heart of the matter. He said, "These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." He criticized the tendency to focus on outward displays of piety while neglecting justice, mercy, and faithfulness. To Jesus, genuine faith was a matter of the heart, not just the hands. This distinction raises an important question. Can religion become an obstacle to the very faith it seeks to nurture? For some, the answer is yes. When religion becomes rigid, judgmental, or obsessed with control, it can alienate people and obscure the core message of love and grace. History is filled with examples where religious institutions have lost sight of compassion, leading to division, conflict, and even violence. Yet for others, religion is a vital source of meaning, comfort, and moral guidance. It brings people together, inspires acts of charity, and preserves the teachings of figures like Jesus. So what's the difference? At its core, the distinction is this. Jesus invites people into a living personal relationship, a journey shaped by love, humility, and forgiveness. Religion, at its best, can support that journey, offering structure and community. But at its worst, religion can become a substitute for genuine faith, a system of rules that keeps people at arm's length from the very God they seek. For many, the challenge is to keep the focus on what matters most, not simply going through the motions, but seeking a transformed heart. It's about asking deeper questions. Am I following rules, or am I following Jesus? Is my faith about appearances, or about genuine love for others? In the end, the difference between Jesus and religion is the difference between a living relationship and a lifeless routine. It's an invitation to move beyond ritual to real transformation, one heart at a time. You don't have to be perfect to be loved by God. This simple truth has echoed through generations, yet it's something so many of us struggle to believe. In a world that often measures worth through achievement, appearance, or success, we might feel like we have to earn love, even from God. But the story of divine love is different. It's a love that reaches out not in response to our perfection, but in spite of our flaws. From the very beginning, the message has been clear. We are loved, not because we are flawless, but because we are His. In ancient texts, we see countless examples of imperfect people who were chosen, cherished, and guided by God. Moses doubted himself and was slow to speak, yet he led an entire nation to freedom. David, a shepherd boy, became a king despite his mistakes and missteps. Even Peter, who denied knowing Jesus in a moment of fear, became a cornerstone of the early church. These stories remind us that God's love is not reserved for those who have it all together. But why is that? Why doesn't God demand perfection? It's because love, real love, isn't conditional. It's not a prize to be won by those who never stumble. Instead, it's a gift, freely given, even when we feel unworthy. Imagine a parent watching their child learn to walk. The child stumbles and falls over and over again. Yet in those moments, the parent's love doesn't fade. If anything, it grows stronger, cheering on each attempt, arms always ready to catch and comfort. That's a glimpse of how God sees us. Our imperfections don't disqualify us from His love. They invite His compassion, patience, and grace. Sometimes, the pressure to be perfect comes from ourselves. We set impossible standards, thinking that if we just try harder, do more, or fix every flaw, we'll finally be worthy of love. But the truth is, none of us can achieve perfection. We all have moments of doubt, anger, jealousy, or fear. We all make mistakes. Yet God's love remains steadfast, reaching beyond our shortcomings. This unconditional love isn't an excuse to stop growing or to ignore our faults. Instead, it's an invitation to transformation. When we know we are loved, not because we are perfect, but because God delights in us as we are, we find the courage to grow. We can face our weaknesses honestly, knowing they don't define us. We can seek forgiveness, trusting that grace is always available. We can extend that same grace to others, loving them not for their perfection, but for their humanity. Accepting that you don't have to be perfect to be loved by God is freeing. It means you can stop hiding your struggles or pretending to be someone you're not. You are seen, known, and loved, right now as you are. In moments of failure or doubt, remember that love isn't withdrawn. In times of success, remember that love doesn't increase. It simply is. Constant, unwavering, and always reaching out. So the next time you feel inadequate or worry that your flaws make you unlovable, remember the stories of those who came before. Remember the promise that nothing can separate you from the love of God. Not your mistakes, not your doubts, not your imperfections. You are loved because you are you. And that is more than enough. Sometimes, finding the right words to pray can feel overwhelming. You might sit in silence, searching for a way to begin, unsure if you're doing it right, or worried that your words won't be enough. But the truth is, prayer isn't about perfect phrases or eloquent speeches. It's about connection. A heartfelt conversation between you and something greater than yourself. When you don't know what to say, start by acknowledging how you feel. Maybe you're anxious, grateful, confused, or just plain exhausted. Let those feelings guide your first words. You can whisper, think, or even write them down. Try something as simple as, "I don't know what to say right now, but I want to talk to you." Honesty is the heart of genuine prayer. Take a moment to be still. Breathe deeply and allow yourself to settle into the moment. Sometimes, the quiet itself is a form of prayer. In those silent spaces, you might notice your worries, hopes, or questions rising to the surface. Trust that you're being heard, even when words are hard to find. If it helps, use familiar words or prayers. Many faith traditions offer prayers that have been spoken for generations. These can give you a place to start when your own words won't come. Reciting a familiar prayer like the Lord's Prayer, the Serenity Prayer, or even a simple blessing can bring comfort and structure. Don't worry about repeating yourself or getting every word right. The intention matters more than the exact phrasing. Consider expressing your thoughts as simply as you would talk to a close friend. Share what's on your mind, even if it feels incomplete or messy. Say things like, "I'm scared about what's coming next," or "Thank you for this day, even though it's been hard." You don't need to have all the answers, and you don't need to hide your doubts or fears. If silence feels uncomfortable, try focusing on gratitude. List the things, big or small, that you're thankful for. Even on difficult days, there might be a moment of kindness, a warm cup of tea, or a safe place to rest. Gratitude can open your heart, making it easier to find your voice in prayer. You might also find comfort in music, poetry, or scripture. Listen to a song that lifts your spirit, read a favorite passage, or repeat a comforting line. Sometimes, other people's words can help express what you're feeling inside. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. You can pray, "Help me find the words," or "Guide me through this uncertainty." It's natural to feel lost sometimes, and reaching out, even in confusion, is still prayer. Let go of the need for perfection. Prayer isn't about impressing anyone or following a strict formula. It's about showing up as you are. Even if all you can say is, "I'm here," or "Please listen," you are already praying. Over time, the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Some days you may have a lot to say. Other days you might only have a few words or none at all. Both are enough. Trust that your desire to connect is itself an act of prayer. Whether you speak, whisper, write, or sit in silence, your presence matters. You are seen, heard, and loved, even when you don't know what to say. So when you find yourself without words, take a deep breath. Begin with honesty and openness. Know that prayer is always available to you, just as you are, in every moment.